Hello YouTube! So today I'm going to be talking about getting a job, keeping a job, and looking for the right job when you are autistic. As a disclaimer, this is not necessarily going to help you get a professional job or like you get out of college and you get a job, because I haven't even done that, so I can't really speak to how to do that. I'm just gonna start. I did make some flashcards. I only made like 7 of them, and they have like some little cues on there for me, so we'll see how well I could kind of keep track of everything. But we're just gonna start. I'm gonna try to make this video as helpful as possible. So we will begin. The right job. So how do you know what the right job is, and how do you know if a job's gonna work out, if it's gonna be the right job? I would have to say that you have to be very open-minded when choosing a job, because there are just so many, and there are some places where you would think, oh man, that looks like a horrible place to work, but it's not necessarily the job itself that makes the job unpleasant. It's usually the people working there. You really want to try to work at a place that you've visited before, or you want to visit the place, and you want to get a feel not only for, kind of watch the employees and see what they're doing, like is it laid back or are they really stressed all the time. Being autistic, you don't really want to go into a job where the neurotypical people are stressed out, because it may be even more stressful for you. You really want to go for a job that's a little bit more laid back if possible, or maybe just it is a little bit stressful at times, but it calms back down. Like, you don't want a constant stress job. You really don't. You want to avoid that if you can. Of course, if you don't have that many options, you live in a small town, for example, something like that, you kind of have to get what you can, I guess. But if you do have more options, I would definitely look for better options. I would also look at what your skills are. And you may think, I don't have any real skills, like I'm not that useful, or whatever you might be thinking. There are certain skills that you may have, like attention to detail. You may be able to repeat this process over and over a certain way with accuracy. I had to work in a lab over the summer. I had a very hard time picking up these processes and understanding these things that to everyone else was just simple and easy. It was very, very stressful for me. But once we got to the part where we were learning these systems and these steps, I've been able to repeat it perfectly every time now. Now, if something changes, if I need you to do this dilution differently, it's like starting all over from square one. If you work in a very predictable environment, I'd say that that's very good. But if it has all of these different variables and it could change at any moment, that's when it's going to be a little bit harder to kind of not get stressed out with that. Definitely go for a job that's got a little bit more predictability. Restaurants are usually pretty good for this because they have menus, and if you know everything on the menu and every single way that it can be served and rung up or whatever, then that's pretty easy. Someone's gonna order this one menu item 40 times during the day, so it's kind of like you already know what they're gonna say when they're on their second word. But there are sometimes it's not very good for predictability. If you're really good at memorizing those systems and putting them into action or whatever, then that's great, and you want to go for a job that's like that. Next, under the whole perfect job thing, sorry, I'm looking at the thing trying to make sure it's still recording. The perfect job also has the hourly wage that you're looking for. Don't necessarily go into the job because it will pay you a lot of money, but you want to find that point where you can support yourself or your family. Management. So this is specifically in regard to your managers. Now, if you have managers that are judgmental, rude, demanding, impatient, easily upset, I would try my best to not work there. Like I said, the job isn't necessarily the problem, it is usually the people. Okay. Another thing to consider is, should you disclose your ASD? Should you disclose it to your managers? You don't have to disclose to your managers or really anyone. You can definitely disclose your disability if you want to. Honestly, there is just no right or wrong answer, but it's very important to understand the effects of this. Some things to consider are, how long have you been working there? I had to eat a donut because my video stopped recording. There was one situation where I believe I was not hired because I mentioned that I had ADHD. I don't know if that was the reason, because the manager also was in a very bad mood. Some people are scared to hire people that have disabilities, so if you are a little bit wary of that, you don't, like, I recommend maybe not telling them until after you feel more comfortable. You can get the job, you can work and see if you can overcome those issues that you're having to a degree, or if you can kind of work with them, or you kind of realize, okay, this place is a little bit more laid back, I can kind of figure out like what I can do to cope or whatever. Then it's like, if you want to tell them, you can. And then they might be a little bit more understanding then too, because they're like, okay, well, you can still do this and this and this and this that we expect you to, so that's fine. Just powdered donuts. But yeah, you want to consider the amount of time you've been working there for that reason. You want to get a feel for the job, see if it's a little bit too much in some areas, and then discuss with your managers, hey, I'm having a hard time with this. Can we change it to this? Can we alter this so that I can do a better job at doing my job? And then you can say, I'm autistic, I'm having sensory issues, I'm having processing issues, I'm having communication issues in this area, if you have understanding managers. If not, if they can't accommodate you, there are other places that will. And now I have a section specifically for sensory overload. Now this is in certain situations where I feel like it shouldn't be crowded, and then all of a sudden it is crowded. There's no real place I can get away from the customers, and so when they start to crowd around, I feel like I just need to curl up into a ball. I feel like just folding myself up, and so I leave. I literally have to leave. I have to either go to the break room or the bathroom, and I just take a 5-minute break, and I go right back to work after. Usually I can just kind of calm down and I'm fine. So whatever job you choose, if you have sensory overload issues, make sure that there's some sort of protocol or some sort of escape that you can have. I know that in fast food, you may not have that as much because there are constantly people coming through the drive-thru. Another thing you can consider are sensory toys. You probably know what sensory toys are already. One example are fidget spinners. Those were really popular years ago. They don't really do anything for me. There are also fidget cubes. My boyfriend 3D printed a what's it called? Infinity cube. I'm sorry. He printed me an infinity cube, and basically it just folds just all over. I might be able to get a video of it. This is just the infinity cube I was talking about. If you can have some sort of little fidget toy with you, then that works really well. Also earplugs, but if you want to put in just the earplugs and you have long hair, you can cover your ears with your hair if you don't want it to be noticeable. There are also very fashionable earplugs. I do not own these, but these are the loop earplugs. And I've heard pretty good things about it. Some people say they're just regular earplugs, but they don't, they look a little bit better. Personally, the circle inside the ear does bother me a little bit. The circle just looks kind of gross, but it's one option. And then, of course, you could just have regular ones or the flesh tone ones, something like that, or foam ones. So I want to go on to time off or calling out. A lot of the time, you're going to feel very overwhelmed working, and you're gonna probably experience burnout. I still go to work. I usually still go to work, and I do call out a lot, do not get me wrong. When I do go to work, I try to work really, really hard, and I try to give them a call in advance if I'm going to call out. Things that help if you're going to call out of work, and I don't know what your policy is at your job, but different jobs are different. They're just different. Don't call out that often. Try to kind of keep going to work, because of course you don't want to lose your job. That's one of the last things that you want to do. You don't want to lose your job and not have a backup option. Do not do a no call, no show. They do not like that. They do not. Just communicate in the way that you communicate best, and tell them, just be as honest as possible. I'm having a really hard time, I need a break, or whatever. And if you have those understanding bosses that you need, they will be understanding, because they've probably felt very similar. I don't know. I hope that it was helpful in some way for all of you. I really appreciate you guys watching, liking, commenting, subscribing. It really means a lot to me, especially since this is something that I'm not used to doing. But yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this video, please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, and bye.